Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Can I move this way? So I'm Lamine. I'm one of the co-founders at Taurus. Thank you very much, guys, for the presentation. So what I wanted to do today is just simply take the stance that some of you might have from a financial institution and just reflect back on, what you've been doing over the last 3-4 years and a couple of things you should look at if you decide to enter the space. So, typically, as opposed to what Boris was focusing on, or some of our colleagues were talking on, we only focus on banks. We are not focused on family offices, wealth managers, asset managers. Our main focus is banks. And those banks, typically when they enter the space, they look at 3 main things. So, cryptocurrencies, everybody knows about it. Tokenized securities, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, or digital currencies. So depending on the regulatory framework, depending on the business conviction, market demand, they want to enter in any of those spaces, sometimes all of them. So what we've done at Taurus, we just built an infrastructure that allows them to manage any of those assets with the same platform. So we've been meeting clients telling us, oh, I have a solution that is amazing in managing cryptos. Basically, those guys are not able to process corporate actions in relation to securities. What shall I do? So that's very important. What the main simple mission that we have is we want to offer the possibility to banks to manage any type of digital asset. And when we look at tokenized securities, I really mean managing corporate actions. So any type of smart contract call, any type of smart contract function, we're able to detect it and process it. So you see here a couple of our clients in a nutshell. We work with the full spectrum of financial institutions. It goes from systemically important banks, investment banks, crypto banks, private banks, digital banks, and what have you. So what we've built an infrastructure that started like 3 years ago, something called Taurus Protect, which is our custody platform. We have extended it throughout the years with something called Capital. It is an extension that allows to manage not only to issue securities, but also to process them. It's totally integrated with our custody platform. Taurus Explorer is basically nodes. So at the time, we had to build our own. And we developed expertise, so we build our own nodes, indexing, fraud detection, reliable broadcasting. We have that. The last piece of it, I'm going to talk about it a bit later on. So we're entrepreneurs. Some people may say, okay, you have already 2-3 products. It's already a lot. No. We want to offer our clients the possibility to go through the full value chain. So we have clients that want to tokenize securities. It's a very nice intellectual, sometimes practical exercise. But if you don't have a marketplace that allows to exchange liquidity, it's a bit worthless. So we got a FINMA license over the last summer, and you have probably seen an announcement a couple of days or weeks ago with Credit Suisse that is making private placement fully tokenized. And we're working with banks issuing structured products, PE firms, tokenizing less liquid strategies. So in a nutshell, when you enter the space, it's very, very important. Again, as a bank, if you're an asset manager, you're a crypto shop, just focus on crypto and it's going to be okay. If you're a bank, it is likely that within the next 6 to 12, 18 months, you will have either peers putting pressure on you or your own clients putting pressure on you, going a bit more through the ladder, managing tokenized securities. So that's very important because in the end you will end up, having one platform for one thing, one platform for the other thing, one other platform to the other thing, and in the end it's I would say, higher operational risk, higher total cost of ownership. So that's my first very piece of advice. In the end, some of our clients ask us, and now I'm just going to take a step back. I'm going to 4 or 5 key questions. I can't spend an hour on it. That are being asked. So, which blockchains? My very basic answer to you is actually you don't mind, you don't care. What's very important is to make sure that whomever you work with control the full technology stack. You have 2 main advantages. In case of technology, I would say disruption, you minimize the risk and the risk is never null. And the second one, if you master the full technology stack, the speed of adoption is much faster. The second one is, we've been asked that over the last 12 months, HSM, MPC, blah, 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 blah. MPC, we have looked at it. Some of our R&D teams have looked at it in details, so we have implemented, sorry for the barbarian names, like Frost, EDDSA, GG18, ECDSA, GD20, ECDSA. We have published the first, I think, the first open source implementation of CMP ECDSA, which is, I guess, the one that is used by our friends from Fireblocks a couple of months ago, so you have to look at it. And again, you don't care, right? My point is, we need to give you choice, and depending on your level of comfort, whether your security team's infrastructure team is more familiar with HSM, they will go with HSMs. There has always been hardware, there will always be hardware. Your Apple iPhone are based on hardware. There will always be hardware, there is nothing harm in it. Today, to give you a split, 90% plus of our banking clients are more familiar with HSM, and some are looking, at MPC. One very important point, if you look at this, it's super. So you may have the best, certification. It's always good to trust. It's even better to verify. If you want to enter into this space, you want to ask, the source code of the MPC implementation. We provide the source code of the firmware that is providing our HSM, as well as, it's open source. So by design, you can even use it and tailor it to your needs. So very, very important. Whatever you choose, ask for a source code audit. The other one, we have investors that tell us, you need to go SaaS, it scales, you make more money. In the end, you need to go where basically your clients are willing to go. So some of our clients, they want to do stuff fully on-premise. If you go to Singapore, if you go to certain jurisdiction, the local regulator will ask you to keep, the infrastructure with you. So in the end, what we manage to do, we have clients totally on-prem. We have clients totally managed service. We don't call it SaaS. We manage the infrastructure for them, but it's theirs. Or we have clients in hybrid mode. So we want part of the infrastructure with us, part of the infrastructure with you. We kind of don't mind. So I think it's very important. The very basic question for you is just basically, what are my regulatory requirements? What is my enterprise-wide risk framework? What am I allowed to do? Can my provider allow me to do so? And the last two things, and custody is fundamental, as Boris said, but I find it a little bit boring, right? In the end, once you control the technology, once you control the infrastructure, it's good to make trades. You will make a lot of money trading Bitcoin for some of your clients, but it's even better to try creating products. So that's what we have tried to do. So we have now, an infrastructure that allows you to do two things: create any type of security, like any type. You can randomly generate it with, randomly generated smart contract function name. We're able to process them. The second thing, which is very important with global banks, because global banks, they have, in London, they have the FCA flavor, in Singapore, the MAS flavor, in Switzerland, the FINMA flavor, in whatever the local regulator flavor. Every single one of them will have their own requirements. So it's very important to be, I would say, standard agnostic. That's what we have been trying to build, and to be honest, it's one of the most amazing achievements our team has been making. So we are totally agnostic on Ethereum, we are totally agnostic if you issue things on Tezos, and other, I would say, blockchains are coming. So that's very important for you. Some issuance platforms are very good. In the US, they're going to do the US flavor, some of which have their own standard. We are totally agnostic. So whatever you want to do, we're able to do. And the last thing, which is a little bit our baby project that we have been nurturing over the last 2-3 years. As I said before, it's great to tokenize assets. It's even better to provide a marketplace to trade them, and we've brought that. It's totally built on our infrastructure, so our fixed costs are super low, and we are basically having a very nice pipeline of companies, some of which with some of our partner banks. We have companies making 150 million revenues plus that's going to be admitted for trading. You're going to see that in the next couple of weeks. So in a nutshell, to me, I was myself in COO positions in my previous life. There are two things you want to check when you want to enter the space. First, do your guys really master the full technology stack versus are they assembling it? And there's a very high premium. We are still in the very young industry. There's a very high premium to those who control the technology stack, and many of the guys today do so. And the second one is, does it cover the use cases that I need as a bank? Not only today, basically what I make this up, the corporate bank is asking, but also within the next 12 to 18 months. Concretely speaking, not only cryptos, but also tokenized securities and digital currencies. That's about it on my end.